speaker, Mr. Hemant Bakshi. Mr. Hemant Bakshi is a veteran corporate professional specializing in business development and new product launches. He loves knowledge sharing and building value to his friends and network. He will be talking to us about new age negotiation techniques that transform a typical bargaining conversation into a psychological alignment discussion. This is the need of the hour today, and I'm happy that we've got Mr. Bakshi here to address this issue of increasing our revenue through negotiation skills and making our organizations more lean and more productive as we go along. Thank you, Mr. Bakshi, and please over to you now.
Thank you, Mohitana. Before I start, how much time do we have?
So you've got half an hour to 40 minutes.
All right, thank you. So good morning, everyone, and very special good morning to everyone who've got their cameras on. So as Mohitana said, this is purely a knowledge sharing session, which means that there will be no course that I will pitch in the end. You can maximize the result of today's session by being highly alert and practicing what you learn. So I'm going to share a small presentation here. Just let me know if it is visible. One sec.
Negotiation techniques हैं ये अभी बात होगी.
Yeah, is this visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is.
All right, fair. So negotiations don't need any introduction. They're part of our daily lives. Now, one point I want you all to ponder over is why is it that it's not easy for us to negotiate with our loved ones? So for instance, why is it not easy for us to convince our spouses? Or why is it that we are easy targets for negotiation for our children? The reason is that negotiation is not a logic-based bargaining. It is more psychological oblique emotional. And people who are close to us, they know what emotional triggers we have and how to utilize them to win the negotiation. And today, when we look at the high stake negotiators, for example, lawyers or diplomats or hostage negotiators, they use these high stake negotiation tools, which are actually psychological oblique emotional tools, to win the other party over. And in today's session, we will examine few tools. And I invite you all to be very, very alert because these tools are really, really sharp and very strong. So allow me to start with the first one. The first tool is called Be a Mirror. In this, what we do is we align the other person's inner voice via active listening. Now let me break this up for you. So imagine I and Mohitana having a conversation, oblique negotiation. Now, while to you it will seem that two people are talking, there are actually four voices who are talking. Now let me tell you how. So Mohitana talks, and while he talks, my inner voice is listening, and my inner voice is formulating a response. And then I speak. And when I speak, Mohitana's inner voice is listening and formulating a response. So actually, the negotiation is not happening between my voice and Mohitana's voice. It is happening between my inner voice and Mohitana's inner voice. And what is important is that I align his inner voice to mine, his thoughts to mine. And one easy way to do it is by active listening. Active listening would mean that when Mohitana is speaking, I'm just listening and I'm just focusing on what he's speaking about. And there will be a psychological shift when he will understand or realize subliminally that I am with him, that I'm listening to him. When he feels that, his inner voice will fade away. His inner voice will actually get aligned to mine. And he will identify that I'm empathetic to what he's saying. This is half the battle won. Now, as soon as we do this in any business negotiation and we make the other person feel safe, he starts talking. And once he starts talking, something very important and magical happens, wherein the other person reveals crucial information. Information which is very important for us to stitch into our proposal or to make us understand how we are better than competition. And this happens all the time. Now, one very important aspect of being a mirror is the voice that we use. We should use a slow, soft voice. And Sandeep, pardon me, but frankly, you have that voice. I actually heard you speaking, and the way you speak, slow, soft, unhurried, clear, that is the voice that has to be used, especially when we are negotiating. Now, the final element of this tool is mirroring, which means we repeat critical words said by the other person, or maybe the last three words. When we do that, the other person feels understood. And today, as human beings in this crazy, fast, competitive world, we all have a very strong emotional ask or requirement that we want to be heard, we want to be understood. So when somebody else is mirroring us, repeating our critical statements or our last three words, we internally we feel very, very happy that yes, we are being heard or we are being understood. Any questions on this tool? Cool. So I'll move on.
Just one thing, Hemant.
Yeah,
Can you
please.
just repeat the active listening once again quickly?
Yes, Sandeep. So active listening means that we make the other person feel that we are completely focused on what he's saying, how he's feeling. And this is done just by, understanding what he's saying and trying to understand his emotions, which is when his inner voice stops or fades away and he actually feels that he's being heard or understood and he gets aligned to us. Now, this is all very subtle. It's below the surface, but it's very important. Can I move on, please? Yeah. The second tool is a very important tool, which is label it. Now, label it we should use especially in our social circles, wherein we should not deny or ignore the other person's emotions. Rather, we should label it. So, for example, if I am speaking to my sister and she's bugged with me about something, then it's very important for me to say, hey, Didi, you are angry with me for this. Take the example of a family gathering wherein we are meeting a grandparent after a very long time. And that grandfather is angry because people don't pay attention to him anymore. They don't come and meet him. Everybody is busy in their lives. Now it's up to us. Either we ignore him or we scold him that, hey, why are you acting so snobbish? Or we label it that, hey, grandpapa, we understand you're feeling, irritated. Why you should give us time when, we don't come out and meet you during the year, right? So that is the labeling of the emotion. It takes half the pain away. Then the second aspect is tactical empathy, wherein we list the things the other party could say to us about us. So, for example, the grandfather would say that, hey, you didn't remember my birthday. So we can say, and you must be angry that I was such a, a duffer that I didn't remember your birthday. And then we take a pause. Now, this pause is basically to allow the other person to shift his feelings, and then we reinforce the positive. But guess what? We love you, Grandpapa, and we love spending time with you. And we look forward to, such family gatherings when we can actually sit down, take time out of our, office and all that, stuff that we get pulled into and spend some quality time with you. Now, this is one example which I've given for a social gathering. Imagine an example for a, a very good client of yours, somebody who gives you large business, but because of, multiple things that pull you into the problems, you're not able to spend time with that person. Imagine he has some issues against your service, against the promises that were made, or at times some agreement clauses that are not being adhered to. Now, how do we handle such situations? Same, label it. Sir, we understand you must be feeling cheated. We understand you would be feeling that our service is not as per what we said. Then take a pause and then reinforce the positive. Guess what? We fully respect you, we fully appreciate the business, and we are making these changes to ensure that our service levels come back up. So I'm just giving you the elements. Obviously, you'll have to customize these elements as per the need that you have. Any questions on this slide?
Nice, nice, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I think going perfect.
Yeah, thank you. Now, this is one very important tool. This is actually a paradigm shift. So understand that as many trainings that we receive, we are always taught that take a yes. There are theories like drive a yes or the three yeses theory, that if you make the other party say yes three times, then you get the deal. Nothing of that sort. In fact, today people just say yes because they're feeling badgered or hassled, just to get out of a discussion. Yes, 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 we'll call you back, etc., etc., and then they never call back. Right? It has happened to all of us so many times. So the yes today does not mean a deal closure. The yes today is basically a cover wherein the other party's concerns or objections or fears are hidden. There are three types of yeses that we encounter. The first is the easy escape yes, the counterfeit yes. The second is just a confirmation yes. Sir, do you think you like this product? Yes. That's an innocent reflective response. But does that mean he'll buy? No. We clearly know. It does not mean he'll make the buy. The next yes is actually the yes that we all drive for, which is the commitment yes. And this yes will come only after we handle the no of the person. So it's very important for us to get the no out in the conversation from the other person. I'll give you two small examples. The first example is my teenage son. Every time he has to go out for a night out party, I start with saying no. Does he give up? Does he say, okay, fine, Papa is saying no, I'll not go? No. He drills into those no's. Okay, fine, tell me the reason why. One by one, he will address all my no. He will decimate all the reasons that I have, and then he walks away with a yes. And he's become a pro at this. And I'm sure anybody who's got teenage children knows what I'm talking about. The second example that I want to talk about is one of the business deals that I did years ago. Now, this was a Japanese firm, very meticulous, one of the largest imaging firms in India. They manufacture cameras, so now you know which company I'm talking about. And they were very nice and soft in saying yes, but I went after them for around 6 months, but I never got an order. And finally, I pumped them or pushed them into a corner, and a no came out. And then I analyzed the no. I found out what were the reasons why they were saying no, took away some of the reasons, addressed the rest, and the deal happened within a month. So, no is more important than the two first yeses to get the final confirmation yes. Now, how to get this? So, there are some solution based questions that are written in front of you. If the customer is not saying the final yes, or if the customer is saying no, then how do we find out what is this no all about? So we can always ask questions, leading questions like, what about this is not working for you? Or what is it that I can add to the value propositions to make this work? Or do you have any concern? Is there something that is bothering you? So these kind of questions create a partnership effect with the other party, wherein now he'll work with you to create that yes you're looking for. In case even then, if the party is not coming around, then there are some really pushy statements. Something like, do you want to make this deal go away? Have you given up on this project? Is there any other party you want to give this project to? So these are the final questions which will actually, help you understand whether you should continue investing your time in this project or just move on. Because one project go on means there are five more to address. And of course, the last but not the least, tell me what to do. It's a very open-ended, but at times this also works very powerfully. Any questions on this slide? Great.
Hemant, do you understand how powerful your presentation is going? No questions.
Yeah, thank you so much. But I'll, really welcome questions because by sharing, people understand more. And trust me, I've seen this happen many a times. I'm afraid we are going at a very fast pace, but this topic is so extensive and so amazing that people create successes the same day. I have had feedbacks, hey, my this deal was stuck and today I have resolved it. So I'm looking forward to that kind of feedback. Anyhow, so going to the next tool, which is bend their reality. Now, this is a very important tool. Now, bend their reality basically means that we modulate or modify or transform the negotiation environment as perceived by the other person. So, what I'm trying to say is that when we come to a negotiation table, the other person has some perceptions. He may feel in control, he may feel out of control, he may feel he has some bargaining chips, he may feel he has some strong cards, with him by virtue of which he can dominate the negotiation. So, how to break that perception in the other person's mind? Now, there are two ways to break it. Either, we are very strong about it, which makes the other person feel dominated and he'll say, hey, no deal, or we are subtle and soft about it. I would always prefer and recommend the second way. So, the first element to make that happen is use the word fair. Now, why we use the word fair is because many a times I've seen people breaking negotiations if they feel that they are not being treated fair. So it's very important to create that element or environment of fairness while negotiating. The other person may, empathize if you say, Mera budget nahi hai, I don't have this kind of money. I can't buy such a premium product while I love to. Rather than, hey, even if you are having such a great product, why should I pay you extra? So I hope you understand that fairness is very important. It's all about creating that emotion in the other person's mind. If you are selling, then this is a very strong tactic. We establish a range. So, for example, if I'm selling a service, I say my quote can vary from, let's say, 100 to 150. And here, the lower number is what is that I'm targeting. Now, when I do that, in the other person's mind, if I tell him, okay, fine, I'll do it for 100, he thinks he's getting a bargain very, very clearly. वो 100 का 90 भी कर लेगा ना, he'll feel very happy, okay fine, I got a discount on the lowest limit. He does not know that my average price is 80, right? So it's very important that the range that we establish is slightly higher than our, operating price or our operating selling price. Then there are some tricks that or tools we can use. So we can always include freebies or additional services. These are very important. They have deals which I've seen wherein the recurring expenditure is higher than the upfront, and just because the upfront was discounted, the person felt that he's having a better deal, whereas what we did, we sold him a contract of 5 years instead of 2 years while decreasing the price of the upfront. So actually our total cost of ownership for the project is much higher. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Next, very, very important point is always use non-rounded numbers. When we use non-rounded numbers, the other person feels that we are actually doing some calculation. There is some justification behind it. And be ready with that justification, some broad justification. If we say 50,000, the other person will bargain to, let's say, 40,000. If we say 52763, then we can always give a 10% discount, again non-rounded discount, and we can make it to, something like say 48 or 49894, and that guy feels, yeah, this guy is doing a genuine job, because of which he's not giving a rounded number discount. So be ready to do that. The last point or the last element in this tool is how am I supposed to do that? These are magic words. I'll give you an example of a deal I closed. So this was, or this is the number one brand in, the two-wheeler space, and I was giving them the same rate that I was giving to other brands. And obviously, being number one, it was not, okay for them. They said, why should we pay you the same rate as the other brands? So my simple answer was, how am I supposed to do that? So I told them the other partners have already done a great job of doing the closing the deal early and negotiating. And because they've negotiated me to the last price, there's nothing I can do below. Yes, I can throw in some freebies for you, but I cannot reduce the price. How am I supposed to do that? Please be fair. I was dealing with a very strong negotiator on the other side, and I'll later in the slides I'll tell you what kind of negotiator this guy was. He was completely data driven, and he came back around. I was able to touch the emotional chord by telling him it's not fair, and how am I supposed to do that? Any questions on this?
Just one question,
Yeah,
Hemant.
yeah.
You said that say your average price is 80, you should
Hmm.
start with the higher uh, price so that you can bring it down to your price what you want.
No, I didn't say that. What I meant was that if my price is 80, I should quote a limit of 100 and 150 for two reasons. One, it is always important to increase the average ticket size. So if it is 80 right now, it's great to bring it up to 100. The second
Hmm.
is in case of emergency, and only in case of emergency,
Hmm.
you can then bring it down from 100 to 80.
Agreed. But if the other person is already dealing in the same product with the competitors where he's getting the price, say 80,
Hmm.
then how it will be fair to speak of 100?
That's a very good question, Sunil. So it's always about creating a package and not a box of price. If you are
Hmm.
negotiating on a box price, then we are wasting time.
Mhm.
Then we'll have to, come back to what the other competitor is giving, or maybe even lower for that matter. There are other elements that can play: services, freebies, quantity. So there's so many things that can happen. Please understand that the other party today is very, very strong in terms of comparing with competition and creating, some benchmark of pricing. We have to move out of that. If we continue in the same matrix, तो our margins are going to get decimated. No two ways about it.
Correct.
Yeah,
Because my experience says generally I feel that the customer knows everything before he speaks to you for the negotiation and everything. He has the details from others also. And when he speaks with you, he also gives you the data that XYZ is giving these offers with this.
exactly.
So you have
Exactly.
to keep those things also in mind when you speak
Absolutely.
to the issues.
Absolutely. So
So
such customers,
how to deal with such customers?
exactly. So such customers, when they come to a negotiation table, they always show they know everything. So my first question is, do they know everything?
No.
Exactly.
Everything is not known to everybody, but
Yeah,
if you see, there are certain data always available to the people,
absolutely. So
which they can
typically,
counter your price.
exactly. So typically, the amount of data that is known to the customer is usually 60 or maximum 70%.
Correct.
It is our experience or expertise wherein we give them some insight into the hidden 30 and how it will affect them. The deal is not just about what they're going to pay, the deal is what they're going to use over the years and how it is going to bring value to them. That is very important.
हेमंत जी,
And yeah,
सॉरी डिस्टर्ब कर रहा हूँ बीच में.
नहीं नहीं बोलिए ना
Uh,
प्लीज.
अब सर्विसेज में बात अलग हो सकती है. एंड व्हेन यू आर गोइंग टू सेल सम प्रोडक्ट टू से आई डील इन प्लाईवुड एंड ऑल दीज थिंग्स एंड माय क्लाइंट्स आर बिल्डर्स. तो व्हेन आई गो एंड कोट अबाउट अ सर्टेन प्रोडक्ट कि भाई ये आपको से 100 रुपया पड़ेगा, तो उनका तो उनके दिमाग में तो पहले से ये फिक्स है कि भाई वी आर गोइंग टू परचेज इट फॉर 90 ओनली.
Very true, sir. ये builders, they are such hard-nosed negotiators.
not only builders,
Yeah.
everyone who is purchasing. मैं भी अगर कोई परचेज करता हूँ तो मैं भी अपना एक पहले क्राइटेरिया सेट करके रखता हूँ, मेरे को इसी के अंदर अंदर लेना है.
Hmm.
नो डाउट कि कुछ प्रोडक्ट्स होते हैं जिसमें मैं इवेल्युएट करता हूँ कि भाई मेरे को उसके साथ साथ क्या मिलेगा, आफ्टर सेल सर्विस कैसी है
Hmm.
या बाकी
Hmm.
चीजें कैसी हैं, मैं किससे
Hmm.
खरीद रहा हूँ,
Hmm.
मैं करता हूँ. बट whenever I go to sell my product,
Hmm.
it's very difficult to take मतलब 25 पैसे भी बढ़ा करके अगर कोई दे तो ऐसा लगता है कि पता नहीं क्या मिल गया.
क्या बात है. So I don't have an easy answer for you, Vikas. We'll have to go deeper. Can we talk about quality? Can we talk about number one material? कि अगर आप मेरे 10 बोर्ड निकालेंगे तो उसमें एक में भी कोई होल नहीं मिलेगा. पार्टी का आप निकालते हैं तो आपको पता है कि उसमें से कुछ ना कुछ आती है. मैं
जवाब
वो
मैं माफी चाहूंगा फिर काट रहा हूँ. जवाब ये मिलता है कि सबका ऐसा ही होता है जी. जो भी बेचने आता है हर कोई उसका सब मटेरियल बढ़िया होता है.
जी, तो जैसा मैंने बताया मेरे पास इजी आंसर नहीं है, हमें डीप जाना पड़ेगा इसमें.
हम्म.
क्या आंसर निकलेगा? 100% निकलेगा.
ओके.
ये जो रोजमर्रा की परचेजेस है ना, जिसमें मतलब आदमी बार बार खरीद रहा है, जैसे बिल्डर्स बार बार खरीदते रहते हैं, तो उनको लगता है उनको पूरी जानकारी है, तो उसमें ना हमें बहुत डीप जाना पड़ता है. इनफैक्ट हमें थोड़ी रिसर्च भी करनी पड़ती है नए मटेरियल की, नए वेंडर्स की. तो वो इनोवेशन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाती है. सो फॉर एग्जांपल अगर वेंडर ये बिल्डर बोल रहा है मेरे को तो यही प्लाईवुड चाहिए, अगर हम उसको कुछ और समझाने की कोशिश करें और दिखाने की कोशिश करें, मे बी देयर इज अ डिफरेंस. सो यहाँ पे हो सकता है प्राइस पे हमें मैच करना पड़ेगा, बट व्हाट इज इंपॉर्टेंट इज दैट हमारा जो डिफरेंशिएटर है वो हमारा एक्सपर्टीज बने. मतलब वो बिल्डर जब भी काम करे वो ये बोलेगा कि मैं विकास से जरूर मैं बात करूंगा, बिकॉज उनके पास हमेशा पूरी इंफॉर्मेशन होती है नए प्रोडक्ट्स की. कैसे वो मेरी ज्यादा सेविंग कर सकते हैं, कैसे वो मेरे को एक ज्यादा अच्छी फिनिश दे सकते हैं, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. सो वो एक्सपर्टीज जो है वो परसेप्शन क्रिएशन तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. प्राइस ऑब्वियसली थोड़ा उसमें चैलेंज है, वो डीप जाएंगे हम.
बिल्कुल. आई विल कनेक्ट यू लेटर.
या एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस प्लीज.
Yeah,
One question, I
Mr.
don't know whether it is
Hemant.
related with this or not. Is basically when we do the negotiation with them. For example, I am into a manufacturing of air bubble sheets. So now many people are making the air bubble sheets, and when it comes to it, then we say that yes, everybody makes the bubble sheet. We talk about the strong points of our services with the customer to get him convinced on the prices what we are asking for. Because if we do X, Y, Z for him, to have to ensure that his production is not getting affected, his packaging is not affected, his delivery will get in time. It will not, if even it is delayed, it is not because of us, because our material will be always at your door whenever you want it.
Exactly.
And then we say that whatever we do, if it all adds to the cost, and that is why we may be little higher than the others.
Correct. And the other person will respect
Yeah,
you
Mr.
more.
Hemant, can I ask you something?
Hanji, please. Please बोलिए, please. I can't hear you.
He is negotiating.
He'll have to negotiate with Mohit Anna for time, actually. Okay, so we'll come back to you, Tushar, later. Yeah, so sir, as I said, when you charge a premium and you are able to justify why you're charging a premium, you get more respect from the market. That is a given fact.
Correct.
Yeah, so allow me to move to the next tool in the because of the time. So here we are talking about creating the illusion, one sec, that the other party is in control. Now this is very, very important because many a times the purchaser wants to feel dominant. So what we can do is we can give him the illusion that he's in control. But how we do that is by and protect our interest is by asking open-ended, calibrated questions. Calibrated means the intensity of the questions increase by each question, and we'll come to these questions later. One very important factor of negotiation is don't force your opponent to admit that you're right. Many times in negotiation, the other party say something wrong, and I have seen people, you know, holding on to that point just to prove to the other person, "अरे आप तो गलत थे." वो प्रूव भी कर दिया, उससे डील नहीं होने वाली है. The other person will think that we are a little egoistic, and they will not come around for the deal. So we should never try to force the other person to admit that they are wrong, and we should avoid emotional reactions. This is very, very important. We have to be calm, unflippable. सामने वाला कुछ भी बोल ले, डील हम छोड़ देंगे, लेकिन अपनी इमोशनल कंट्रोल को नहीं छोड़ेंगे. दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. And these are the golden words. He who agrees without being disagreeable has discovered the most valuable secret of negotiation. ये आप करके देखिए सर, ये प्रैक्टिस से ही आएगा. और अगर आप ये फोकस रखेंगे, इंटेंशन में रखेंगे, 100% होगा. आई हैव सीन पीपल क्रिएटिंग मिरेकल्स, just by being very pleasant and yet firm. That is the way forward.
Say again what you said for this.
Yeah. So now let's come to the meat of this slide, which are the calibrated questions. Now these questions have two effects. One, they give the illusion of control to the other party. And more importantly, they stimulate partnership. How am I supposed to do that? What about this is important to you? Now, what about this is important to you? मैं दो चीजें cover होंगी. One, the product, and second, you as the vendor or you as the partner. So trust me, for long-term relationships, we have to position ourselves as a partner, not as a vendor. And for this, it's very important to ask such questions. How can I help to make this better for us? And if we is talk about pricing, openly बोल दो सर, price के अलावा बताइए. Like delivery, जैसे सर ने अभी बहुत important point बोला, delivery. It's very important. After sales service, very important. How can we solve this problem? इस टाइप के क्वेश्चन से पार्टनरशिप इफेक्ट बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग क्रिएट होता है. एंड ट्रस्ट मी, 5 वेंडर्स आर टॉकिंग और कॉलिंग द प्रोस्पेक्ट, वो सबसे पहले आपका फोन उठाएंगे, बिकॉज ही सेंसेस दैट पार्टनरशिप इन यू. एनी क्वेश्चंस इन दिस स्लाइड? Great. So now let's move to this very important slide, and I'll welcome you all to take a photo of this slide. ये slide थोड़ी सी ज़्यादा data driven है, इसमें information ज़्यादा है, but this is a very, very important slide. So इसमें हम क्या करें? We've broken down the kind of negotiators. Now the first negotiator is analyst. They are very methodical, they are very diligent, they are very detailed, और इनको कोई जल्दी नहीं होती. However, they are very cautious, they are very skeptical. आप उनको कुछ भी बोलोगे ना, आप उनको एक सर्टिफिकेट भी ला दोगे ना प्राइम मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया से कि हम अच्छा काम करते हैं, तब भी वो स्केप्टिकल रहेंगे. नहीं नहीं, ये पहले मैं चेक कर लेता हूँ. Their self image is linked to minimizing mistakes. मतलब वो देर कर देंगे, वो डील छोड़ देंगे, लेकिन वो मिस्टेक नहीं करेंगे. अगर हम ऐसे लोगों को डिस्काउंट देंगे, then this is just a new piece of information. It is not a deal closure. They will just take it back, they will analyze it further. They will never give an immediate counter proposal. Never. Now, how to handle such people? We need to give clear data. Clear data or clear justification why we want to disagree or why we want to drive the negotiation in a certain manner, and we have to focus on facts. If we keep quiet in front of them, then they use it for thinking. They are not emotional people, and they don't respond to calibrated questions also. इनको partnership create करना इतना आसान नहीं है. They only work on data. I'm sure you would have come across such people. The second is accommodator. ये थोड़ा सा ना time waster होते हैं. They love building, rapport. They love talking. आप उनसे मिलेंगे, they're very friendly. They always will joke with you. They'll ask about your family, your friends. They would want to know about your past, कहाँ से college किया, your interests, your hobbies, etc., etc. लेकिन जब डील की बात आती है तो वो बोलते हैं हाँ करते हैं. How to deal with such people? इनके ऊपर calibrated questions बहुत अच्छे काम करते हैं. And such questions which nudge them or direct them towards implementation. And in that conversation, we have to find ways to translate their talk into action. ये practice से थोड़ा आएगा, but as soon as you identify an accommodator, then you should be very, very careful about A, time management. Because ये आधा घंटा बोल के 1.5 घंटा आपसे बात कर सकते हैं और डील नहीं होती है. So in that half an hour of conversation, you have to ensure that some part of discussion on business is happening. You may want to spend another 15 minutes to build rapport because this is how these people respond. And we need to actually uncover their reasons or objectives for the deal. One very important point that we need to know is that silence to them is a deal breaker. उनको लगता है ये आदमी जो है ना ये इंटरेस्टेड नहीं है. सो जैसे वो बोलते रहते हैं वैसे हमें भी बोलना पड़ेगा. द थर्ड एंड द मोस्ट डेंजरस इज असर्टिव. ये समझते हैं ये भगवान है जो धरती पे आ गए. They believe their time is money and they believe they're doing us a favor. Even if we give them a 50% discount, they believe they are doing us a favor by taking our products. Now for them, mirroring works best. If you remember mirroring, we repeat what they said. We make them understand that we are actively listening to them. And then we use labels. अच्छा आपको ये ठीक लग रहा है, अच्छा ये आपके लिए important है, and then calibrated questions for partnership, and then summaries. So when we do this, then we stand out of the competition. In their mind, they will feel we have made more advance in the discussion than other prospects, and they will love our intelligence. इन लोगों के लिए intelligence matter करती है. And in the entire conversation, you have to give them the illusion of being in control. So now going back to the tough, discussion I had with the largest two-wheeler brand in India, I had two people on the other side. The first one was an analyst, and the second one was an assertive negotiator. And believe me, just by using these, tricks or triggers, I was able to swing that deal. मुझे मेरे बॉस ने 25% डिस्काउंट का अप्रूवल दे दिया था. And it was a great win for me mentally when I came back without giving even 1% of discount. So this is what we are worth. This is what we deserve. Because when we are giving our service, our product, our blood and sweat, we also deserve a good price. Any questions on this?
सर ये मिररिंग का हम ऐसे भी बोल सकते जी हजूरी?
नहीं, जी
What is the
हजूरी नहीं है
difference?
सर. जी हजूरी तो वो साफ पकड़ लेंगे. उनको ये अंडरस्टैंड कराना है बिलो द माइंड सरफेस कि हम उनको समझ रहे हैं.
Hemant, surprisingly, I have one client who's
Yeah.
super assertive.
Yeah.
Like भगवान ने उसको धरती पे भेजा है.
Okay.
He has actually in a meeting said, "जो ऊपर भगवान है उसके बाद मैं हूँ."
Wow.
And you will not believe it. This is the fourth year, and touch for the relationship is going very well. Now I'm analyzing what you are saying. That's what I've been doing with him.
Right.
And then I have another guy. I've been talking to him for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
We are just about to sign a deal, but nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
So that probably is an accommodator.
Probably an accommodator, yes.
So ये दो पे तो हो रहा है मेरा. So now probably let's see if I can move forward on that.
Oh, absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Rajesh, all the best. All
Yep.
the best.
What I have seen is that the assertive guy needs to know who's the alpha male in the room, and then you bang him with the analyst, and that works.
Atul, the person I'm talking about, this is 4th or 5th year we are working out. You will not believe it, though he makes these statements, but he respects me a lot. Just because on and off, as Hemant also said, on and off, I put something on his table which is beyond his expectation, and then एक साल आराम से निकल जाता है. 2-3 बारी साल में ऐसा होता है. Qualitative
That's a
outputs.
great trick. So that is a freebie that we are talking about. It's a great trick. So I'll
Yes.
just marry the two statements. That one, he wants to feel that he's the alpha male. So कहीं ना उसके mind में insecurity है कि वो alpha male नहीं है. He wants to assert that all the time, and he wants to get that validated. So yes, we will have to reciprocate, stating that yes, you are the alpha male, but at the same time, while we give him the illusion of being in control, we have to be the backseat driver. very clearly.
Exactly. So,
Hemant, I have a query.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Would you say that people are majorly one type or the other and not only a combination?
There can be a combination, Mohita, obviously, but there's always a dominant factor.
Yeah. So, is there exactly somebody may start as an analyst, right? Give you data, appear to be very methodical, right? But even deeper inside, they are assertive. So, is there a way we can identify that?
I think that's a very valid question, Mohita, and thank you so much for bringing this up. Yes, there are always personality mixes, and in the course of discussion, we do identify initially the person behaves as an analyst, whereas he is actually an assertive, or vice versa. So we have to use both the tools then accordingly. So we have to, give them a proposition which has both data as well as, mirror them. And in the course of discussion, when we do it, and as Atul talked about, or Rajesh talked about, as soon as they start asserting, we know, okay, fine, now he's showing he's the alpha male, so we
Yeah.
act accordingly. And if he acts like an analyst, then we play it accordingly. So that is what we need to do.
So here I feel that people come in with a lot of other knowledge bank, but they at their core they are not. So they may come to the negotiation table with one thought that I have read this somewhere or I have attended, say, आपके जैसे training होगा, and they may come up with a way of speaking, and but at the core they are very different. So the
Correct.
idea is by the core.
Correct.
Generally, negotiation gets stuck on only one point, that is price. And people who harp about that price needs to be lower, and certain cases I have seen, they don't deserve our services. Let them move on. So,
That's also a very valid point. That's also a very
in the
valid
end,
point.
yeah, when you're doing business with US, that's a different ball game. Those guys have got all these things charted out, that there would be a good cop, a bad cop in a negotiation. But when you're doing it in India, the only thing they are worried about is the bottom line. You can put 5 pages in front of what you're trying to explain it to them, but in the end, they will go to the commercials page and see कि अच्छा इसमें काम क्या कर सकते हैं. Because their
And
bottom line lies there. So
exactly,
sometimes we
Atul.
need to move on. And I have
Exactly.
seen in past, you move out of a quotation or a project, big project, they go burn their hand and then come back and give you 25% more to do
Exactly.
the same project.
Exactly.
So that works fine with me. Move
Yes,
on.
Atul. That's again a very important point made. So people, Atul has made a very profound point, and it has a very strong business impact. So what he's saying is that if we walk away from a deal wherein our price or our expertise is not being appreciated, then there are chances that the other party goes in for a lower service oblique solution, and after some time they come back to you. Now, what is important here is how do we keep the bridge between us and those parties that they come back to us? Please ponder on it.
So
They, yeah.
go ahead, Hemant.
No, Atul, I would love to understand how you do it.
So my experience is you shake hands and you move on and you tell them that, okay, get it done from this guy. If you still face any problem, here's my number, give me a call.
Right.
So that always keeps the bridge open. And they, in my experience, 99% people come back and pay you more money than you asked in the first place.
Correct. Very valid. And can I just add one small point here? That there could be instances wherein this period of coming back is more than a year. And when that happens, then we tend to lose our recall position in the other person's mind. So now what we need to do is every year or every half year, we can send them a news bulletin which contains details of our latest innovations or latest clients, or some success stories that we have. I have seen deals happening because the vendor, he won some award. It was pasted on LinkedIn or social media, and then he got calls. So all these things, keep us on the high recall of the other party.
Just 2 questions, Hemant.
Yeah, Sunil.
One is on your slide 1, where you said it is very important to be focused listener. और जो हमारा माइंड है ना वो कई जगह भागता है, बात तो हम आपसे कर रहे होते हैं लेकिन कई चीजें बाद में आ जाती हैं और वो आपके फोकस को हटा देते हैं. हाउ टू कंट्रोल दैट इज माय वन क्वेश्चन. सेकंड क्वेश्चन इज ऑन योर स्लाइड 6, एनालिस्ट, अकोमोडेशन, असर्टिव, सारी चीजें ठीक है, लेकिन अगर सामने बैठा हुआ नेगोशिएटर का एक ही ऑब्जेक्टिव है कि भाई आप कमीशन मुझे कितनी दोगे, तो आप उसको कैसे हैंडल करोगे?
एग्जैक्टली ये प्रॉब्लम है.
राइट. सो जो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन है उसका आंसर जो है फोकस बिल्डिंग है. फोकस बिल्डिंग के बहुत सारे तरीके हैं. वन स्ट्रॉन्ग वे इज मेडिटेशन, एंड उसमें मोहित अन्ना इज अ सुपर एक्सपर्ट. I'll request you all, or rather I'll request Mohit Anna to hold a small meditation session one of these days, and it really helps. Let me show you. The second is commission. Sir, commission जो है वो भी deal से ही आना है. Very frankly, tell the other person. So there are two ways to look at it. One, whether how do you feel about giving a commission, whether it is okay according to your ethics or integrity. If it is okay, then tell him that it will come from the deal itself. आपको कमीशन ज्यादा चाहिए, डील की प्राइस बढ़ेगी. इट्स एज सिंपल एज दैट.
ओके.
या ओके. Allow me to move on to the, yes please.
Yeah, just wanted to give one cent from my side on the first question. That was about active listening. One of the biggest barriers that generally we see in active listening is we tend to get conscious, when we are listening, because we feel that now we have to give a response. So if we tell ourselves that I'm not listening to respond, I'm listening to understand the genuine point that the other person is making, so then that helps
Absolutely.
in implementing.
Absolutely. So what you're saying, Tarun, is that we silence our inner voice.
Correct. Yeah, because
Right?
we have that feeling that I have to emerge as a subject
Yeah.
matter expert and therefore I have to respond.
Exactly.
So
we need to silence our inner voice, and when we do active listening, the inner voice of the other person also goes away. Very valid.
So Hemant, you have to say how much more time you need.
I just have one more slide, Mohit Anna, and after that I'm done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So this is a special bonus slide. This is typically for purchasing, and you can flip it around in case you are selling. So this is called the Ackerman model. You can Google it also. Very effective. So the first offer that you give as a purchaser should be 65%. Or if you're the seller, then the first offer you should give should be at 135%. The second offer you should give is at 85%. Try and close here. And in case the vendor is not agreeing, then you can use questions like how you are pricing this so high, why you are demanding this premium price. And then you can acknowledge clear differentiators, or give data against points you have concern against. Then the third offer is 95%, and either on the second offer or the third offer the transaction should get closed. In case it is not closing, then 100% is the final offer. Don't go beyond that. Again, very important, don't use rounded numbers. And finally, always use empathy. When we use empathy, the other person responds with empathy. He also tries and understands what we don't have as a budget or what are our concerns. So I will request you all to take a photo of this slide. So this is basically a summary, and I invite you all to practice using these points. And I wish you all the best for your negotiations. And trust me, by mastering negotiations, we can conquer difficult terrains or difficult business targets with ease. So thank you all. Have a lovely day.